day of the coronation, whenever it was, last week I think, Julian took the opportunity to write quite a lengthy letter to the new King of England. And I'd like to take this opportunity to read it out to you. To His Majesty King Charles III. Julian writes, "On the coronation of my liege, I thought it only fitting to extend a heartfelt invitation to you to commemorate this momentous occasion by visiting your very own kingdom within a kingdom, His Majesty's prison, Belmarsh. You will no doubt recall the wise words of a renowned playwright, quote, 'The quality of mercy is not strained, it droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath,' unquote. But what would that bard know of mercy faced with the reckoning at the dawn of your historic reign? After all, one can truly know the measure of a society by how it treats its prisoners, and your kingdom has surely excelled in that regard. Your Majesty's prison, Belmarsh, is located at the prestigious address of 1 Western Way, London, just a short fox hunt from the old Royal Naval College in Greenwich. How delightful it must be to have such an esteemed establishment bear your name. It is there that 687 of your loyal subjects are held, supporting the United Kingdom's record as the nation with the largest prison population in Western Europe. As your noble government has recently declared, your kingdom is currently undergoing, quote, 'the biggest expansion of prison places in over a century,' with its ambitious projections showing an increase of the prison population from 82,000 to 106,000 within the next 4 years. Quite a legacy indeed. As a political prisoner held at your Majesty's pleasure on behalf of an embarrassed foreign sovereign, I am honoured to reside within the walls of this world-class institution. Truly, your kingdom knows no bounds. During your visit, you will have the opportunity to feast upon the culinary delights prepared for your loyal subjects on a generous budget of £2 per day. Savour the blended tuna heads and ubiquitous reconstituted forms that are purportedly made from chicken. And worry not, for unlike lesser institutions such as Alcatraz or San Quentin, there is no communal dining in a mess hall. At Belmarsh, prisoners dine alone in their cells, ensuring the utmost intimacy with their meal. Beyond the gustatory pleasures, I can assure you that Belmarsh provides ample educational opportunities for your subjects. As Proverbs 22:6 has it, quote, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it," unquote. Observe the shuffling queues at the medicine hatch, where inmates gather their prescriptions, not for daily use, but for the horizon-expanding experience of, quote, big day out, unquote, all at once. You will also have the opportunity to pay your respects to my late friend, Manuel Santos, a gay man facing deportation to Bolsonaro's Brazil, who took his own life just 8 yards from my cell using a crude rope fashioned from his bed sheets. His exquisite tenor voice now silenced forever. Venture further into the depths of Belmarsh and you will find the most isolated place within its walls. Healthcare, or hellcare as its inhabitants lovingly call it. Here you will marvel at sensible rules designed for everyone's safety, such as the prohibition of chess, whilst permitting the far less dangerous game of checkers. Deep within hellcare lies the most gloriously uplifting place in all of Belmarsh, nay, the whole of the United Kingdom, the sublimely named Belmarsh End of Life Suite. Listen closely and you may hear the prisoners' cries of, quote, brother, I'm going to die in here, unquote. A testament to the quality of both life and death within your prison. But fear not, for there is beauty to be found within these walls. Feast your eyes upon the picturesque crows nesting in the razor wire and the hundreds of hungry rats that call Belmarsh home. And if you come in the spring, you may even catch a glimpse of the ducklings laid by wayward mallards within the prison grounds. But don't delay, for the ravenous rats ensure their lives are fleeting. I implore you, King Charles, to visit His Majesty's Prison Belmarsh, for it is an honour befitting a king. As you embark upon your reign, may you always remember the words of the King James Bible, quote, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy, unquote, Matthew 5:7. And may mercy be the guiding light of your kingdom, both within and without the walls of Belmarsh. Your most devoted subject, Julian Assange, A9379AY. Thank you. Welcome to the 181st week of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. We all have a lot riding on the freedom of Julian Assange, whether we know it or not. Julian's freedom is about freedom of expression for every single one of us. Julian's freedom is about our right to be informed with evidence. Julian's freedom symbolises the fact that ordinary people must be able to hold their governments to account. With recent positive talk from prominent Australian political figures like Peter Dutton, Kevin Rudd and Bob Carr, the impression is being created that Julian Assange may be granted his freedom soon. It's not possible to say for sure whether Julian will be released, but as with all narratives which gain traction with politicians and the mainstream media, we can be certain that the possibility of Julian's release will be used in propaganda for the benefit of the corrupted establishment. We must keep in mind that Julian's imprisonment was not in error and that Julian is completely innocent. We need to maintain the idea that Julian's style of journalism has given us the possibility of a transparent democracy. His imprisonment has been a calculated response by the establishment to intimidate the budding aspirations of a truly free press that would make transparent democracy a long-term reality. The freedom of Julian Assange represents the idea that in a democracy, all journalists must be free to publish public interest information, regardless of the sentiments of powerful individuals or groups. The imprisonment of Julian Assange has been used for propaganda purposes, to give the impression that corrupting democracy is somehow not a crime. As supporters of Julian Assange, it is important that we stay with the truth. The corruption of democracy is a crime against all of us. For the sake of transparent democracy, we must continue to use our voices to free Julian Assange. Free, free Julian Assange. Free, free Julian Assange. Free, free Julian Assange.
Hey man, have a look.
Cheers. Need to be talking about all this stuff.
There are 3 petitions on this.
Okay.
The top one is really important.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
There were 2 actually. There's one and there's a second one.
Not sure the Tories have that. Interesting, yeah, no
There are some petitions.
I've got an interesting little article here from the Sydney Morning Herald, May 10 last week, a few days ago, written by Michaela Whitmore. Now and again, the Herald does have some good journalism and some good journalists, and I'd like to pay tribute to her. She writes, protesters fear jail time for gathering outside Martin Place Town Hall. Key points. The laws criminalise a range of protest activities in or near major facilities such as ports, roads and train stations. It means protesters at an event at Town Hall could be arrested for obstructing one of the many station entrances, according to her. The maximum penalty is a $22,000 fine and 2 years imprisonment, or both. Is this a government that believes in democracy, and dialogue, communication with the people, Or is this a government that's afraid of what people are saying at demonstrations? 2 years imprisonment for demonstrating at Town Hall. They haven't needed these laws for 200 years. Why are they bringing them in now? Because they don't like what we're saying, and they don't like losing even more votes with their tiny little percentage of the Australian public that has voted for them. They do not have a mandate to make these laws. Where's the consultation with the public? These politicians have got ahead of themselves. They think they can make a law to throw us in prison for expressing an opinion. This is not Australia. This is like the worst dictatorships over the last 70 years, where they throw anyone in jail that says something they don't like. Well, you better wake up, folks, because that's what we're dealing with. They're ramping up totalitarianism. They've thrown Julian Assange in prison for one reason: exposing the truth. And they don't like the truth about their crimes being conveyed to the public. They're perfectly happy to control the media narrative and keep hoodwinking people into believing they're doing the right thing when they're not doing the right thing. So it's very important, citizens of Sydney and Australia, when the government says something, we ought to be saying, well, we want to see the evidence that supports what you're saying. We're not just going to believe everything we're told. Stupid people do that. That's how people get ripped off. And that's how our democracy is getting ripped off. Julian Assange is a figurehead of free speech, free debate, and government accountability on the planet. And that's why they've thrown him in jail. If he'd committed any crimes, they would have prosecuted him. But he hasn't committed any crimes, so they've just decided to kill him with the system by continually keeping him in the legal process. It's called lawfare. Lawfare. It's a method for destroying a person by litigating against them in perpetuity. And worse still, keeping him in prison all the time while they're litigating against him. It's outrageous, and every Australian should be calling their Member of Parliament and expressing their views that we cannot allow people to be thrown in jail for exposing war crimes and exposing crimes of public officials. Anyway, we're going to be here every Friday afternoon until they lock us up under these laws or they let him free. Because if we don't stand up for Julian Assange's right to free speech and free expression, we're not standing up for our own rights to it, or our children's rights to it. The very future of Australia is dependent on these rights, these human rights. In actual fact, they're inalienable rights, as expressed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We cannot allow these rights to be violated.
Brother, we are talking about Palestine. What do you want? You come here. You come here. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? If you do Palestine, we're going to have a thing for tomorrow. Tomorrow, Rani. Have a nice day. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Long live Julian Assange! The truth teller!
Free Julian Assange!
Assange.